truth and might, guided by the stars and stripes tonight. Stand tall, constitutionalist and free, for liberty's voice come and see. Together we rise, you and me. Welcome to the Go Right, the way it should be.
Breaking news from the Pacific Northwest. State election officials are working to determine how many ballots were destroyed overnight after two apparent arson attacks. Drop-off ballot boxes were apparently targeted in Vancouver, Washington, and Portland, Oregon. Police found an incendiary device, that's their phrase, inside the Portland ballot drop-off box. County elections officials say fire suppressant inside the drop box protected nearly all the ballots. Only 3 were damaged. But officials in Vancouver fear that hundreds of ballots could have been damaged or even destroyed.
We're starting with some big news that could reshape the political landscape. With the election right around the corner, the Real Clear Politics polling average shifted dramatically as former President Donald Trump edged past Vice President Kamala Harris in the polls. This development comes as Americans continue to wrestle with questions about our country's economic path, fueling political divides across this nation. Trump, in fact, is peaking at the right moment. Not only is he gaining ground, but his economic policies now have the favor of 44% of voters, compared to Harris's 30%. Meanwhile, a staggering 52% of Americans report feeling worse off than they did 4 years ago, according to recent surveys, with Biden attempting to rally behind Harris by offering to campaign for her. But it's worth noting that her campaign remains hesitant, a clear indication of the tensions within her camp as the election heats up. And if you noticed, Biden went to go vote early today, and he was standing in a line holding on to the back of a wheelchair of an older black woman. And you're wondering, why is the President of the United States standing in a line? I don't get it. It's with the dangers that's going on. Really? I mean, Donald Trump's been almost assassinated twice, and you're going to have Biden just standing outside? Well, I'm ready to vote. It's kind of fishy. Let's dive into some of these latest headlines, dissect the facts, and see what's really happening on the ground. We'll be right back with hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Remember, we fight for what's right because it's time to go right.
Time to go right. Time to go right. Time to go right.
Welcome to hashtag Go Right with Peter Boykin. Hey there, Patriots. This is Peter Boykin. I'm the Constitutionalist for Liberty. And welcome to hashtag Go Right, where we're all about getting to the heart of what's happening in our constitutional republic. As always, we bring you the facts, not the spin, cutting through the noise with a constitutionalist viewpoint for liberty, ensuring that you get news grounded in the principles of our founders and a clear-eyed look at today's issues. Today, we're diving into some big headlines making waves across the country, headlines that reveal the tension in our economy, shifts in political support, and where the media is leaning this political and election season. We already looked at how Donald Trump has surged in recent polls, with the Real Clear Politics average showing him ahead of Kamala Harris for the first time since August. But this is huge, folks, because pollings are indicating a change in momentum as more Americans say they're feeling worse off now than they were just a few years back. And we're not stopping there. We're going to get into the Washington Post's unprecedented decision not to endorse Harris. Yes, you heard that right. And what it says about the administration's standing with some of the usual media allies. I mean, if you don't got legacy media behind you, I don't know. There's a real disconnect growing in Washington, and voters are starting to take notice. At hashtag Go Right, we believe in an America united under the Constitution where everyone's voice matters. So stay tuned as we break down the facts, lay out the big picture, and fight for truth. This is Peter Boykin, and let's get started.
Is the alarms.
The opening act, grabbing headlines for all the wrong reasons. A comedian who offered unfunny, racist, cringeworthy jokes.
Basically calling Puerto Ricans trash.
The most repulsive racial jokes about Latinos.
Disgusting and hateful.
So incredibly crude.
Frankly, just too X-rated to play here.
Extremely vile so-called jokes.
Extremely vile so-called jokes. She name-checked my comedy album from the 90s. Did I really? I don't know who's AI, me or that guy. Now, obviously, in retrospect, having a roast comedian come to a political rally a week before Election Day and roasting a key voting demographic, probably not the best decision by the campaign politically. But to be fair, the guy's really just doing what he does. I mean, here he is at the Tom Brady roast a few months ago.
The great Jeff Ross, ladies and gentlemen. Jeff is so Jewish, he only watches football for the coin toss. Gronk, you look like the Nazi that kept burning himself on the ovens. Kevin is so small that when his ancestors picked cotton, they called it deadlifting.
Yes, of course. Terrible, boo, yes. There's something wrong with me. I find that guy very funny. So, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I mean, bringing him to a rally and have him not do roast jokes, that'd be like bringing Beyonce to a rally and not have... Oh.
With Trump pulling ahead in the Real Clear Politics average, the former president's platform seems to resonate now more than ever. With 44% of Americans showing preference for his economic agenda over Harris's 30%, the sentiment marks a strong shift towards concerns over inflation, energy policies, and job growth under the current administration. Now, this surge comes with the backdrop of Washington Post's decision not to endorse Kamala Harris, a notable shift that reflects waning confidence from even her usual media allies. Now, the opinion-based reporting around this refusal to endorse Harris has highlighted frustration with her handling of domestic issues and perceived inability to address them head-on. As Americans grapple with concerns over rising living costs and job insecurity, the endorsement or lack thereof from legacy media outlets may be a bellwether for the Democrat Party's overall stance heading into the election. Perhaps the most compelling figure in recent polls is that 52% of Americans say they feel worse off now than 4 years ago. This sentiment goes beyond partisanship. It underscores a fundamental dissatisfaction with the economy and increasing costs of living from grocery bills to home ownership. At least 4 years later, now people are able to breathe. A significant majority across political lines expresses frustration over what they perceive as a widening gap between the government's promises and real results. Trump, capitalizing on his frustration, has positioned himself, capitalizing on this frustration, has positioned himself as the champion